Welcome back, patrons, to part 3 of this portrait tutorial series, and today for this one we are doing the mouth this time. And so we've done one for the eyes and for the nose, so we're going to go straight in with the mouth. And the first thing I want to do is just work on this bit of skin, so the Cupid's bow, and I'm going to go straight in with the graphic pencil by Derwent and the grade F, and I'm just going to use that to shade in some of the shadows so that we can blend it out and get a really nice smooth area of skin surrounding the mouth. So I'm just going to block that in around the mouth, so connecting that nose and the mouth. Just going to use the side of the F grade pencil and shade everywhere. You don't have to be too specific because the tissue will really smooth everything out for us. So just add some of that pencil. Crisscross it if you want. As long as you're not using a lot of pressure, you'll get a nice smooth finish. I'll do that underneath the lips as well a bit. And around here. And under. Now I'm going to go in with the 4B and just use this to add in those shadows. So where the Cupid's bow is, just to add in the main shadows, just so we can understand the structure and the highest points of the skin and the lowest points. This is what's going to add dimension to our work and make it look realistic. So I do really love using tissue to blend large areas like this. I think it's such an amazing thing to use to blend. It is so cheap, it's so affordable, and I think it's one of the best things that you can use to blend really easily, really quickly, and get such a smooth finish. A lot of the things I use to blend are things you can get around the house. I like to use cotton buds, tissue, you can even use paper, and cotton wool and stuff like that, and it will get you a nice smooth finish. You don't need loads of expensive materials. They will work just as well and get the job done. So it all looks really weird at the moment, and it looks really liney, but once we blend it out, it will all make sense. It will all be really soft and it will all look much nicer. Okay, so done that. Now I'm going to go in with my bit of tissue and just use that to softly blend everything out. See, everything goes so much softer straight away. There we go. So now let's crack on with the mouth, and I'm going to go straight in with the HB charcoal pencil and draw in our centre line. So I've already done the sketch underneath, so I'm just following that sketch in the centre line. I'm also going to just start to lightly block in the shadows with the B grade pencil. So quite a lot of the top lip is really in quite a bit of shadow. So I'm going to start by adding a layer of the 4B to the whole area. So I'm just going to shade, crisscross that 4B pencil. And I'm going to do the same on the bottom. She's got very full lips. So we want to make sure that we don't make them look flat, that we make them look full and make them have a lot of dimension to them. So I'm just continuing to build up those shadows before I go and blend it out. Start to deepen up the pressure and add more pressure for the darkest areas. So now I'm going to go in with the cotton bud and just use this to blend out the area, the whole thing. Adds a nice value to the whole area. And you can even add some more value around it as well. Just lightly go over it with the tissue. So now I want to go and deepen up the shadows with the charcoal pencil. Go back into that centre line, really deepen that up. And I really want to just work straight away on adding in all these shadows. So top lip, I want to go, and I'm going to use the Tortilium and just use that to blend the charcoal up into where those shadowed areas are, because I don't want to directly add the charcoal onto the top lip because it's very soft and smooth, and if I directly add the charcoal to the areas where it isn't really dark, then it will look too gritty, too grainy, and we won't have that smooth look. So it's better to just deepen up those areas with the Tortillium. Again, you can do it very slowly and just keep building it up in layers. At the very center and at the outer edges tend to be the darkest parts. So just make sure that you're following your reference photo as best as you can. I'm still using the circular motions, especially if I want to use the Tortillium to get really smooth skin. I need to make sure that I'm using the circular motions rather than just going back and forth. That will just give you a very streaky look. I'm going to use the very end to try and make it more of a distinct edge like it is here. I'm not adding so much of the charcoal on the areas where it's a bit lighter. And like I said, we're just going to build this up slowly. You can add a bit of charcoal on the really dark areas of the upper lip, but not all over, otherwise it will look too grainy. Just be very careful and really think about where you're putting it down before you just go in and put charcoal everywhere. They're coming along nicely. Really happy with them so far. Now I just want to add in this dark shadow cast under the mouth and blend that in. Using cotton bud, soften it out. And now I want to work a bit more on the bottom lip. Again, just going to add the charcoal on the very darkest parts so it's not too grainy. Circular motions. And as you can see here, she's got quite a lot of nice creases in her lips. So it's important that you try and replicate them as well, but notice that they're going in a certain direction. So don't just draw them in any old direction. Make sure you're following the reference photo as best as you can. The more you practice doing each of these features, the better you'll get and the better your overall portrait will look. So I'm going to use the charcoal pencil to put in some of these darkest creases. Just the dark ones, not all of them. The really deep ones I'm just marking in. And I will blend them out. You don't want them to look too harsh. So this is looking better now. We're getting in our shadows a bit more. I'm going to use that Tortillon and some of the existing charcoal powder on there to add in that Cupid's bow and darken that area up, make it more defined. It will make it look more three-dimensional, which is what we need. Going to darken up this shadow. I'm going to blend it out with the tissue, soften everywhere up a bit. Now I just want to use that 4B pencil to try and make this lip line a bit more like the reference photo. using the 4B to darken up some more shadows. Just going to blend it out a bit. The area around it. Okay, now what I want to do is quickly establish some of the highlights. So I want to quickly go in and just put in the main highlights so I can better see the structure and then figure out what I need to tweak and adjust. So first things first, there's this highlighted area above her lips. This shadow isn't really there, so I can take that off. Add the highlight over here. We can tone it down as well in a minute if we need to. Or we can use the Nude Eraser to drag that highlight up and blend it into the areas around it. Use the tissue, soften out the highlight, like that. And then we can go in and just lighten out specific areas if we need to. Now work on add these little highlights in this top lip. There isn't too many highlights on the top lip, they're mainly on the bottom, but there is this bit's a bit lighter. Just look for subtle lightened areas of the skin. It's all about subtle changes. And blend it out, make it not so harsh. So the bottom is where most of the highlights are. So let's go in and add all those in. So not even highlights, just lighter areas of skin. So once we've blocked in that whole shape, this area is actually a bit lighter. So we need to make sure that we're just looking for even the subtle highlights and lighter areas of skin, and make sure that we've got the contrast right and that we haven't just got everything as a shadow that doesn't need to be a shadow, and that we haven't just got areas that are too light. So this all comes with practice and experience and just learning, trial and error. So don't worry if it's a bit tricky to get it all right the first time. Just keep practicing and you'll get there in the end. Just don't give up. Okay, so I'm just gonna erase the general highlighted midsection here. So I'm going to blend that out. I want to try and make it a bit more of a subtle change between the shadows and highlights for now. And just keep working on them. So I'm not happy with this area, so I'm just going to actually get my normal eraser. If I can find it. Just going to use my normal eraser and just trying to raise that shape so it's a bit more like the reference photo. Because like I said, once you've lost your initial sketch, you can end up tweaking it and adjusting it so it's not quite right anymore. So now I'm just going to roughly go in and add in the little creases. Thinking about the curvature of the actual lips as well whilst I'm doing this. I'm not just doing them straight, I'm trying to follow the curvature of the actual lips and how they would normally and naturally go. So even the subtle changes in shape can really make the lips look a bit more cartoonish, well, bigger and just not the right shape really. It can make them look completely different and make them look weird, out of proportion and just too big like they were looking. So I'm going to use the brush, wipe away that eraser dust, and blend out these areas a bit more so they're softer. Blend, blend, blend. Now I'm going back in with that tortillon and working on the shadows. Now that I've tweaked the shape a bit and got that a bit more accurate, I'm going to go and build up the shadows. I'm working on the top lip shape a bit more now. Make sure that's accurate. She has got very full lips. Just really starting to build up the shadows now. Before I go in and do all the little creases, I just want to get the foundation base down into the right contrast. first. I'm going to use cotton bud this time to blend it out. And now I want to go and build up using the 4B pencils, the darkest one. Just finally go in and really make the centre line dark. Just want to lightly mark in the darkest shadowed areas as well. And just mark out the creases as well. And yeah, just basically mark out all the main shadowed areas with this 4B soft pencil, but I'm not applying any pressure really at all. I'm not pushing down on it much, just enough so that it comes off onto the paper. So now going back in with the Tortillon, use that to blend it all out. The 4B charcoal pencil will blend out really nicely because it's so soft, and it will also darken areas around it. So bear that in mind if you're trying to avoid getting charcoal pencil on your highlighted areas. Bear in mind that the 4B pencil gives off a lot more of the charcoal powder. Go in with the tissue. And if you use a clean bit of tissue, you can actually lighten up certain areas like that, because it will pick up some of the charcoal and lighten up the area. So that's a little tip to bear in mind if you want to lighten up an area without using an eraser, because it could be too harsh. So now going in with that 4B pencil again, just use it one more time on that centre line. And now just want to make sure that that area is dark enough. Okay, so now I want to go and focus on adding these creases, and to do that I'm going to use this eraser instead so that I can get some really defined creases. Just going to add the main ones in. So again, make sure it's so important to follow the curves of the mouth. If you don't, then it really won't look realistic. It will just like you've put random lines everywhere. It won't look like they're little creases. So I'm still just really want to get those shadows where they need to be. Okay, so final thing I want to do for the moment with these lips is just finally go in, add in all the highlights, make them as intense as they need to be. And then I'm going to move on for the lips, from the lips, and we can come back to it if we need to adjust anything. I just want to get them pretty much finished, and then we can obviously add any tweaks if we need to later on in the drawing. But it shouldn't look too much different to what it actually will look like when I've finished it in this video. Might just have the odd tweak and adjustment. So I'm going to go in with my main eraser and just add those main highlights again. Going to add the cotton bud to make them not so harsh. I'm going to go in and just add in the little creases with the 4B pencil. So I'm just adding the final touches, the final little creases. Spend a few more minutes on it. Okay, so that's it for the mouth for now. So in the next part, I'm going to be focusing on the skin, getting all the skin in, and then we'll be doing the hair and just finishing everything off. So hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next part.